It's time once again for That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 WINS WHNZ, where business becomes show business. Now, live in studio and promoting the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the American economy, your host, Jamie Maloney.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, and thanks for tuning in to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Again, each weekday morning at 8 a.m. here on 1250 WHNZ, a show about business owners, entrepreneurs, political and community leaders, and what they are doing and making a difference in and around the Tampa Bay and surrounding communities. So I invite you to tune in each and every morning at 8 a.m. Also, we do stream this show live in studio, so if you're in the office or away from a radio, you can always catch us here live in studio via the internet. Just go over to tampabayradio.com, click on the Watch Live Stream button on the homepage, and you can see the video of us here live in studio as well. And also, the show is available on demand in a number of places if you miss us. We do put the audio up on iTunes shortly thereafter each show. And I do have a YouTube channel where we do put up all the videos also. And everything is available on demand at tampabayradio.com also. On the site Tampa Bay Radio, you'll also notice that I do sell real estate, and I always offer all of my listeners a free home valuation. Just click on the Sell Your Home link on the homepage, and we'll send you over a free home valuation. Typically get those out within 24 to 48 business hours. And also on the site, you can peruse all the area real estate listings, as I am a real estate broker specializing in the sale of bank-owned properties and been in business 8 years or so now with Coldwell Banker in the South Tampa community. But really, I'm covering about 8 counties, so I've got properties all over the area. So it's a great resource for real estate in the area, whether you're buying or selling, again, over at tampabayradio.com. Also, please connect with me on all the different social networking sites for show updates, facebook.com/That Business Show. Also, Twitter under the handle Jamie_Maloney. Great show planned for you today. Today's show promises to be a bit tamer than it was yesterday. Anybody that caught the show yesterday heard old Charlie the plumber in here get a little crazy in here, a little political talk ahead of the Republican debate that went on last night. But don't like to get political in here too often. But my guest host co-host Topher Morrison with Key Person Influence decided to get him riled up yesterday. So anybody who was listening to the show yesterday probably was like, I thought this was a business show, and old Charlie out there getting a little crazy with us and everything. But Charlie been a big supporter of the show, and he's just a very passionate individual. Got a lot of feedback on that show, a lot of positive stuff. A lot of people enjoyed that show. So, but that's not typically what the show is about. Each day I talked with different business owners and entrepreneurs and stuff. Just got a little off topic yesterday ahead of the Republican debate that was on last night. So on the second half of the show, I'll be talking with James DeVito. He is the owner of Taps Restaurant, Bar, and Lounge. So stay tuned for that conversation. But up first, Glenn Zimmerman is an award-winning reporter with the #1 station, or was a award-winning reporter with the #1 station in Detroit and with NBC's flagship station in New York. Today, though, he is the CEO and president of Mad Bear Productions, where he harnesses the power of story to help businesses, nonprofits, and events engage with their target audience. Glenn, welcome to the show today.
Good morning, good sir. So nothing controversial.
No, nothing controversial.
We're not going to take some sort of crazy bend in this conversation.
No, this will be a much tamer interview. Yeah, it'll be a much more low-key, fun discussion. So, although yesterday's discussion was fun, for anybody who missed it yesterday's show was off the chain. And Charlie, he loves to get crazy in here every Thursday. But yeah, definitely a different show yesterday. But today we're going to talk about Glenn and marketing, video marketing, things of that nature. And you're coming off a career as a reporter, and then you decided to open a company that tells uses the power of story to help business owners and nonprofits. Why the transition from reporting to video production?
So it's a combination of two things. One, I saw a shift in the way that the business world was working. This was back in 2007, 2008, and I started seeing a shift in the way things were going, and that suddenly businesses had this possibility to have their own platforms. They didn't necessarily need to go to television. This is a great example of what we're experiencing right now. You can have your own platform very, very, very easily. And so by doing that, they can shape their stories. They have the chance to tell the stories they think are powerful, and sometimes they need help telling those stories. So that's the opportunity. But the other part was, and very frankly, this is one of the things I really would love to talk about more here. And maybe it does become controversial.
Yeah, you did a recent TED Talks. Yeah. What was and for the audience, tell people what the TED Talk series is about.
So TED is really about trying to create ideas worth spreading. It's a nonprofit. There are TED Talks all throughout the country and all throughout the world, and it's really caught on to be a larger place where some people use it to develop thought leadership. Other people are addicted to listening to it because it stimulates your mind. I like to refer to it as brain candy. And I was fortunate enough to be asked to give a TED Talk. And the reason it relates into the second part that I was just getting at is because I was really frustrated with the direction that media was taking. And it was the business of media was starting to overtake the real goals of journalism. Not necessarily in ways that everybody thinks, you know, where, oh, the liberal bias or the conservative bias. It wasn't like that. It was subtle sort of things that were happening in the direction of why stories were being told that I didn't think everybody was aware of, but it was definitely having an impact. And so that was another reason that I wasn't happy with the direction of journalism anymore. And I felt like...
now, did you go to school for journalism before
did.
you? So, I mean, was this taught to you, the power of, you know, the bias in the media, or is this just something that's come about from the 24-hour news cycles and the competition for ad space and things of that nature? I mean, you know, what are they teaching in journalism school right now?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think that, first off, I think that's shifted quite a bit because the main difference, let's put it like this. If you're looking over time, all the stuff that we're seeing right now existed throughout time. Yellow journalism existed long, long ago during the times of Hertz and Pulitzer. So these sort of biases that we're talking about have always existed. The big difference right now is it's just the pure saturation of media. We are swimming in media. As I say this, we are on media. You know, I mean, there's no way around it. And as a result, everyone's become an incredibly aware media consumer. But in that awareness, you lose perspective. So to make my point, what I think has happened now, while back in the day, journalism schools and multimedia schools would teach how to be an effective journalist, the responsibilities, you know, how to be objective, how to cross-check facts, and all that stuff is still very, very important. But because the way media works right now, whether it's through social media or even through mass media, I think it's actually less important to focus on the journalist. And it's more important for all of us to be aware. It's this idea of media literacy that I think is overtaking things. Because there's so many voices out there. It's a wonderful time for media. It's so exciting because you can get opinions and perspectives on things you would never have gotten before. There are more truths out there than there ever have been. But how do you know what's what? And how do you know what's being put out there for what reason?
And how many years did you spend as a reporter?
15.
15 years. And did you saw a shift over that 15 years? I mean, 15 years ago, or from whenever, you know, when you first started, did you see a dynamic shift in the media business? Did you ever feel that, you know, you were by, you know, your bosses and things like that, did you ever feel that you were being pulled off of track for just ratings versus, you know, getting the right story out? Did you ever feel like you were...
See, I'd like to just tweak that statement a little bit. I don't feel like there was an intentional bias. It wasn't like, oh, we can't do this because Bob is a sponsor of our... It wasn't like that.
Okay.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like, oh, we should do this because we're conservative and we want to push this conservative point of view. All of that stuff is subtle. It's not intentional, despite what people think on a local level. Now, if we're talking, just to take a step away, if we're talking about MSNBC versus Fox News, no, clearly there's a bias on it.
Yeah, I don't even like to call those news networks anymore. They are pretty much just political engines for each right or the left side. So, yeah, I totally get that feeling and stuff. But go ahead and continue your point.
But along the lines of what you were saying, that there was a shift. There was a strong shift between one and the other. And when we were doing news, what I found was we would actually, in the newsroom, look at where the meters were. So Nielsen does all the metering for television. You would look at where the different meters are, and you would focus on those particular markets. Those particular communities, more so than you might because, oh, wow, this particular time during this ratings period, there are more meters there. No reason for it other than a business decision. And it also shows just how vague some of those ratings are. And that's just one example of how business drives. You would sometimes focus on something because you knew that there was a program that was happening before a newscast starts. So let's say Dancing with the Stars is on beforehand, and it makes no difference what the program is or what the network is. This is something, I'm not just picking on ABC. I mean, this is something that all networks and all programs are doing. You look at programming, and then off of that programming, you think, all right, what would be interesting to move from there for that audience into the newscast so we can keep that audience. And you would actually set up news stories along those lines.
Right.
That's the sort of thing that I'm talking about, that people don't realize it's happening. And then as a result, are you really getting the most relevant information? You know, on the news and local news, when you're listening to newscasts, first 10 minutes of any newscast, the vast majority of it is going to be what? It's going to be fires, crime. It's going to be tragedy.
A reporter once told me, if it bleeds, it leads. That was a common quote.
It's an old expression.
Yeah.
And I think what's more important is to look at why that's the case. And I think it's very simple and it's very easy. It's that turning stories like that, it's easy.
Yeah. I mean, part of the reason why I wanted to get on radio and do what I do is I wanted to kind of take a stand against, you know, the traditional, you know, radio that's out there, do something positive, talk to people about what they're doing each and every day. And a lot of people ask me, you know, because I'm a realtor, you know, why aren't you promoting yourself more about real estate on the show? And I was like, it's not about, you know, real estate. It's about setting myself apart from, you know, my competition, things like nature, and just having a show that does something positive, I think elevates me. And we were talking before the show that's a strategy that you utilize with your customers too. It's not necessarily, you know, you're on here selling yourself, but it's like intellectual property, so to speak. You know, explain that a little bit, how you sold that to me.
I think that's really what a large portion of this is. And the truth be told is that this part of who I am actually transcends my business. Does it involve my business? Sure. You know, if you listen to the TED Talk that we did, that I did, if you listen to what I'm saying now about media, all of the things that I'm concerned about, my company actually does not do any of those things. And we do it intentionally. We avoid those things intentionally. However, that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of all of this is that I honestly am concerned about the way media is. And I want to get that conversation started. I want to get people thinking about it a little differently. I don't want to be necessarily the head charging leader of this whole little movement, if you will. I would love it to be a movement because I'd love a lot of people involved, because I'm concerned. I'm concerned if right now we're living, like, to use your example of what's happening on Fox and what's happening on MSNBC is those two different, you know, countercultures of liberal and conservative. To use that as an example, here's another problem that people don't realize. When they're in those environments, they're living in an echo chamber. They say things, and they say things that are just coming back to them. It's their own points of view constantly coming back. You take that same concept, you apply it to social media. Let's say you like President Obama or you don't like President Obama. Let's say you put a note out there. Let's say somebody in the audience hears it, doesn't like it. What do? They unfriend you. That keeps them out of your chamber, and now they're back in their own. We are no longer connecting each other in these ways. We're separating each other and living in our own little zones. The more you think about the way media is working right now, the more it's really a concern. And if we're here right now and we don't have the awareness of where we're at, what happens? What happens 5 years from now as we continue this through this progression? Yeah. So to your point, Jamie, I don't necessarily want to promote my company, Mad Bear Productions, really. That's not, it's great. If people hear me and they want to reach out and talk to me about video, great. Yeah. But I would really much rather them think about this and say, hey, you know what? That fool wasn't wrong. Let's think about media more and let's push back. Yeah.
This is a great discussion. Got to take a quick break. Currently talking with Glenn Zimmerman. He is the president and CEO of Mad Bear Productions, and you can learn more about him and his company at madbearproductions.com. You're currently listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage want you to experience the thrill of one-day underwriting and the comfort in knowing your loans will be clear to close in record time. While the competition looks to a lost closing date, Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage focus on their 12-day clear to close. They do this by utilizing their world-class operations staff to underwrite your loan within 6 hours, process your loan in 12 days, and have your loan closed in time. Underwritten in 6 hours, cleared to close in 12 days. Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage.
Tampa Bay weather is a roof killer. That's why when getting your roof done, you want it done right. Hi, I'm Jamie Maloney of That Business Show. When considering a new roof or repair, talk to Westfall Roofing. They've been installing high-quality roofs in Tampa Bay for over 25 years. Get a free, no-obligation estimate by calling 855-99-ROOFING. That's 855-99-ROOFING. Find out what already 15,000 satisfied customers already know. Call now, 855-99-ROOFING.
Are you looking for a local real estate firm that knows the market and has your interests in mind? Then contact Jim McPeak at McPeak Real Estate Firm. a family-owned business whose agents have over 60-plus years of experience in the Tampa Bay market. Many of the agents are military veterans that know the VA process for buying a home and are proud to help our military members in any way they can. From residential to commercial real estate, McPeak Real Estate Firm is here to help. Contact Jim at 813-495-3875 and learn more at McPeakTeam.com.
Have you considered a reverse mortgage as part of your retirement financial plan? For homeowners age 62 or older, a reverse mortgage from Access Reverse Mortgage is a safe, economical way to turn your home's equity into cash or monthly income. Access Reverse Mortgage is a family-owned company based right here in the Tampa Bay area for the past 10 years. They are A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau and Florida's leading reverse mortgage provider. Call 727-347-0305 or go to accessreverse.com to start your research today. NMLS number 4566. That's 727-347-0305.
Are you in need of new flooring or ready to tackle that home remodeling project? Then contact Yeager & Company Incorporated, a family-owned, state-certified general contracting business with over 70 years of experience and the recipient of the Angie's List Super Service Award for the last 8 years in multiple categories. Yeager & Company comes to you with their shop-at-home flooring sales service, and their hardwood flooring refinishing is the very best in the Bay. Kitchen and bath design featuring American-made, well-born cabinets, and all work is done by employees, not subcontractors. Learn more at YeagerFlooring.com.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Northbound 275 near Dale Mabry, crash there blocking the center lane. That is stacking things up back onto the Howard Franklin Bridge. Howard Franklin backed up probably about halfway across the bay. Courtney Campbell Causeway, not much relief there. Eastbound backed up from the Big Bridge back to Clearwater due to a crash in the left-hand lane, so definitely consider Tampa Road from points north and Gandy Bridge if you're heading over to Tampa from St. Petersburg. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Utica Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by the American Association for Cancer Research. The American Association for Cancer Research is the world's first and largest organization dedicated to finding cures through research. Please support cancer research by donating today at www.aacrfoundation.org.
Today, a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms, high 89. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 79. Tomorrow, a 50-50 rain chance, high 88.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Each weekday morning at 8 a.m. on 1250 WHNZ, and learn more about the show at tampabayradio.com. Joined in studio now by the lovely co-host Stella Giudicelli with us today. Stella, how you doing this morning?
Very good. Good morning, everyone.
Thanks for joining me. Running a little bit behind today, but currently talk with Glenn Zimmerman, CEO and president of Mad Bear Productions. Great conversation. What do you think of it so far?
Yes, very happy to be here. I mean, you know, I would be listening anyways, but it's just even so better to be here and really connecting with what you're saying. So I'm from France originally. I lived 3 years in the UK before my company asked me to move to the US. And when I came here, I had to find a way to get news. And so the easy way would be to turn the TV on, right, and see what's up there. And I just felt that I wasn't getting the news that I needed. And it was just a lot of time with nothing really relevant for me. And so I went from there to having to remove TV off my life. I mean, if I have TV, I will watch it. So I need to take it out. So I haven't had TV for 3.5 years, and it's changed my life. Because it gives you a lot more time. Your brain kind of changed from being passive to active, and your life changes really. But here's my question. So I moved from Europe and came to the US. Over there, I have to say the news are half hour a day. Half hour lunchtime, half hour in the evening. And it's just so different. The news that we have, and I think it's changing and it's coming slowly towards like the way it's handled in the US. But over there, like the feeling, and it's really like neutral. It's facts. Here are the facts. And people don't talk about what, you know, the news anchor is not going to say, give any opinions what they think, or it's bad, it's good, it's here are the facts, and then the next. So why would you explain, like, what's the difference? Why is it handled that way over there? And how come the U.S. went
It's more opinionated.
Yeah.
Well, I think, first of all, I think it's important to look at the way in which media is in the U.S. and what you're looking at is news. And this is something that Jamie mentioned earlier. It might not be news. I mean, we're dealing with, a lot of the people you're going to be listening to on an MSNBC or on Fox News. I mean, they're pundits. They're not news people. And back to this whole idea that we touched on, of the idea that they're going to have an audience of people that are drawn to like-mindedness, and then everyone's going to live in their little echo chamber. And rather than going outside of their echo chamber and being challenged by other opinions, they're going to be drawn to it, to be together. And it doesn't allow people of differing opinions to have an honest conversation. It doesn't allow us all to share thoughts. So, that's one dynamic that's happening, but it's not news. I think that, and I must admit, I'm not a student of the way that the news industry is functioning in France. I know a little bit about the way that the news industry functions in the UK because of the BBC being actually it's the equivalent of our PBS, which is, it's funded. But the way it's funded is a little different. PBS is actually funded through donations. So there's actually it's a very complex, I don't want to take too much time getting into it, but that's the whole part of it, is that how the news is made is the part that's really important. Why you mentioned before the news isn't relevant. We were talking about crime at the beginning of newscasts and fires and all of these terrible things that we're seeing happening. Well, why is that happening? Well, very simply speaking, you need to have something that catches people's attention. Very simple. So what is the technique that the media uses to catch people's attention? It's fear. Fear is that is the weapon of choice. It grabs people's attention and it pulls them in. And it's not just fear in the crime sort of sense. It's, if you look at the larger sense of even advertising, and if you look at the larger sense of what we see even in the media at large, if we're looking on a thumbnail that you're going to see happening when you're doing a Google search. Sorry, I'm having a little problem with my mic here. You'll see that fear is what the motivating factor is. I'm afraid of not having something that could greatly improve my life. So I need to look at buying it. I'm afraid of being too fat. I'm afraid of being too skinny. I'm afraid of not fitting into a particular group or organization. It's fear. That's the motivator. If you're looking at all of the stuff we're talking about here. So how do you drive eyeballs to watch something? Well, you use fear as the motivator, and then you produce something that's extremely easy to produce. It's very easy from a news standpoint to take a bunch of two people, put them in a news van, say that there's a crime that happens on the intersection of whatever street we're talking about. They throw the mast up, and these days they even sometimes do it through a streaming technique, so they don't even need to do that. And then the reporter can say, hey, I just talked with a police officer, what's happening. It's very easy. If you're looking at it from a news standpoint, that's why the decisions are made. It's fear-based to draw eyeballs, but it really, and that's not to say that these things aren't terrible. I mean, please don't think that that's what I mean. These are terribly tragic things that are happening. But in terms of overall relevance, they're very limited. They only affect a limited number of people. So, but as a result, we're all hearing it. We're all passively ingesting it. And then what happens? Then we start being afraid of the world,
It does impact your life every day.
Tremendously. And the example I gave in the TED Talk is I have 2 kids. And I remember when I was, my son is about to turn 8, my daughter just turned 6. And when I was their age, I remember I'd run around the neighborhood and, hey, Mom, I'm just going over to see Johnny. And I'd run around. I mean, I don't let my kids do that. Most parents don't in this day and age at that age of kids. And it's, the world is too scary. That's what we tell ourselves, that there are predators out there, something terrible. We're afraid. That's why we do it. And in some ways, we don't let kids be kids. And I'm not suggesting we should, but I do think it's important for us to pause and recognize why we're making these decisions and just see how much media is affecting these decisions passively.
Right. So on that point, when you're talking about fear, what came up to me is the responsibility of the media in do we need to take a break, Jamie?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Responsibility of the media with regard to fear and how we're making decisions. So for example, the Iraq War, I was in the UK in London at the time, and we had facts. So is there or is there not weapon of mass destruction in Iraq? And then I remember we went through the war thing, and people were really against it over there in the UK as well. I remember watching a documentary, and in the US, there was a lot more fear around this fact.
Yeah. Hold that point, Stella. I'll let Glenn carry over into this next segment, finish up the discussion here. Great discussion. Currently talking with Glenn Zimmerman, President and CEO of Mad Bear Productions. Learn more about him at madbearproductions.com. And you're currently listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring-type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Instrument. He works for you to help you prepare a plan that gives you the peace of mind in knowing that your future is secure. Call David at 800-808-5009 or online at grahamcapitaladvisors.com.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Northbound 275 near Dale Mabry, crash there blocking the center lane, stacking things up back onto the Howard Franklin Bridge. Howard Franklin backed up probably about halfway across the bay. Courtney Campbell Causeway, not much relief there. Eastbound backed up from the Big Bridge back to Clearwater due to a crash in the left-hand lane, so definitely consider Tampa Road from points north and Gandy Bridge if you're heading over to Tampa from St. Petersburg. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Utica Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line, 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Lead Safe America. Do you live in a historic home? Are you renovating? Your children could be at risk of lead poisoning. It takes just a microscopic amount of lead dust to poison a child. Learn more at leadsafeamerica.org.
1250 winds, Weather Center forecast. Low 90s for the high this afternoon. We'll see sunshine for the most part in the morning, then a bit of cloud cover picks up in the midday. Same with the rain chance, about 30% today. Overnight lows, upper 70s. 1250 winds, WHNZ.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Winds WHNZ. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Again, weekday mornings at 8 a.m. here on 1250 WHNZ. And learn more about the show over at TampaBayRadio.com. Currently talk with Glenn Zimmerman. He is the president and CEO of Mad Bear Productions, but we're really just having a conversation today about, the media. He has a background in journalism as an award-winning reporter. And Glenn, I want to carry over here in a few minutes in this second segment, or third segment before we bring on our next guest. But go ahead and continue that point we were just making.
Well, Stella was just asking about media responsibility. I have two thoughts. One is, and she was basically saying that, in Europe, there seems to be more of a responsible media. I mean, I think that, first off, I just would like to caution you about holding European standards to too high of a standard.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just like one main difference I've noticed, but I can see
there's
what you're saying.
There's a lot of other
right.
concerns internally with why decisions are made that I don't know if necessarily are any better. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, in terms of media responsibility, here's something that I do think I have a differing opinion on, that I don't think we as people need to look to media to be responsible, because it's not. I think that whether or not you're talking about mass media, whether you're talking about social media, I mean, one of my team members, Roshni Hannon, she actually did something, short little story to prove my point. She did something where it was fun when the Stanley Cup playoffs were going on, Blackhawks obviously and the Lightning. So she used to live in Chicago. She did a little thing where a Chicago-based station about Chicago fans who now moved to Tampa and became Tampa fans. And so it was supposed to be a fun little segment. The tone of the way in which it was positioned on social media was so extreme that you should have seen the comments that people were saying about her just for doing a fun little segment. Something fun turned very nasty and snarky very quickly because of the tone. So to the point, it's not media responsibility. It's our responsibility. We need to be aware. That's my driving point. What do I do with this, Glenn? You be aware. You be aware of what you're ingesting. You be aware of why you're ingesting it. You talk to people about it. The more we talk about it, the more we're aware of how it's affecting us and the less it affects us.
Yeah.
So and not let the media put fear in our life and put fear around the subject.
Unless we pause for a second and realize that it's worthy of our fear. I mean, there are things that are worthy of our fear, but I just think we have to, it's our responsibility now. There's too much with social media. There are too many voices in there to say, oh, it's somebody else's responsibility. We have to have accountability for what we ingest. And then if we actually have a large enough movement here and we reach a critical mass, well, then what will happen on the converse is that our behavior changes. And then when our behavior changes and our viewing habits change and our clicking habits change, well, then the media will shift. Then because the business model will have to shift.
Well, great points and a great discussion. Real quick, before we switch over to the next guest, you're also the president-elect of the American Marketing Association, an event coming up. Go ahead and put that out there.
Yeah, I did want to let everybody know we have a video marketing event actually coming up. It's going to be on August 20th. At 11:30 a.m. It's a lunch event, and it's going to be at the Tampa Museum of Art. Cool venue. Afterwards, everyone who comes can actually go and explore the museum as well. We'll have drones buzzing around. The food's going to be catered by Sono Cafe, by Mise en Place. So food's going to be ridiculous. And I really put a lot of heart and soul into this organization because I think that along the lines of what I'm talking about, marketing plays into media too. And if we're all thinking about how we're affecting people and we're doing it in a connective way, in a way of connecting people versus a divisive way of saying pitting us versus them, I think it actually can have a bigger difference. It's somewhat of a noble purpose, if you will.
So what day and what time?
It's a Thursday, August 20th from 11:30 till about 1:30 at the Tampa Museum of Art.
We'll put that up on the show recap. Glenn, great discussion. I appreciate you coming in today.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And thanks talking to you too, Stella.
Absolutely. And that was Glenn Zimmerman. He is the CEO and president of Mad Bear Productions, and you can learn more about him and his company over at madbearproductions.com. Time to shift focuses now and bring on my second guest for the show. James DeVito, coming off a successful career on Wall Street, decided to change his pace and take on something more creative. Restaurants. Understanding business and knowing that the foundation of any business is the most important, he started at the bottom and today is the owner of Taps Restaurant, Bar, and Lounge with 4 locations in the Bay Area. James, welcome to the show today.
Hi, good morning.
So first off, tell me, Wall Street, what did you do up on Wall Street before you got into the restaurant business?
Well, I was an institutional sales trader, which is essentially a fancy name for a broker, except I didn't deal with regular people. I dealt with the big funds, hedge funds, and mutual funds of the world.
Right. And so you came into Florida now, and you're running Taps Restaurant, Bar, and Lounge, right?
Correct. Yes, we opened our first location downtown Tampa at a point when the markets were literally crashing and everything was, probably the worst scenario I could probably get into the business in. Mm-hmm. And downtown, I moved coming from New York. I didn't really know much about Tampa Bay, and actually I knew nothing about Tampa Bay. We literally threw a dart at the board and said, "Let's just go
Tampa Bay
down
random, huh?"
Well, my wife is originally from Orlando, and my family's always had a home on Marco Island, and we felt it was kind of a neutral territory. And I had one friend here, so I was like, "I'll go down to check out Tampa Bay." Literally got on an airplane, flew down by myself. My wife was at home pregnant, and I bought a house in 2 days and went home, got her, and came back and moved.
Did you tell her you bought a house?
I did. I sent her a photo. I said, "This is your new home."
Because usually the woman wants to have a lot of input on that process.
Normally, but when you're coming from New York and you pay the prices and what you get in New York, I came down to Tampa. I got a brand new waterfront home out, and so she was very happy.
Yeah, it must be nice to have a woman and just that's good enough, and then you just made the decision.
I am blessed with that. I married well.
Yeah, most women, I sell real estate, so I know they've got a lot of input on the selection process. Isn't that right, Stella?
Right.
Yes,
absolutely. We see that every day.
So now,
so living it, coming to Tampa and then coming out of New York, the one thing that I had a hard time with, and I wanted to do a restaurant, and I wasn't even sure what the concept would be. That wasn't really that important to me. I knew I was building something for myself, but I wasn't exactly sure what the niche would be. And when we came down, I looked at one shopping center, another shopping center, and I just couldn't grasp why this strip center would be better than that strip center. What I did know is a city. And so my buddy who was from here showed me every center there was, and then I'm trying to find my way home, drove through the city by accident, and I'm driving around the city, and I see that big Sky Point building, which was just finishing up, and the park across the street was all boarded up. They were tearing down the museums, and all that was going on. And I said, this is a great location. So I call him, and he's like, you're out of your mind. There's nothing downtown. The streets roll up at 5 o'clock. You're out of your mind. And I said, well, I don't think so. I got a high-rise above me. There's supposed to be another one next to me. There's supposed to be a hotel next to me and all these new parks and everything. So we called the number that was on the building, which was for actually the residents. And they're like, we're not renting the downstairs. It's just we're only selling units above. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. I said, of course they want. So I had to call Atlanta, and I went above everybody. I finally got in touch with the people. And they flew down, we spoke, and we opened up the first taps downtown.
So where's the location downtown?
The downtown location is right on Ashley, 777 North Ashley Drive.
Yeah, I was actually over there for the first time a couple weeks ago. Great little location, and
a lot of your guests probably don't even know they've been to my restaurant.
Probably not. Yeah, it's kind of just
the reason
there at
is,
the corner. Yeah.
If you've been downtown for any of the big events in the park or a show, I mean, you've probably stepped through our space.
Yeah, because it's part of the building, and you probably don't realize what you're
Well, the
walking
building
into.
is always, when you're in a condo building, you've got 1,000 people who are like your wife. They tell you what to do, and so you're constantly being limited by what you can do. So from signage, we were never allowed to have a sign. We can't have an illuminated sign. Can't have this. So it's always been a challenge to get your name there. So a lot of people, like I said, we used to. Remember when they did the art festival? Yeah. So they used to close down Ashley, and that was so you literally walk through the festival and kind of walk right through my door and go back.
So how many years or months was it after the opening of the first restaurant that you got the second one up and running?
Well, you may recall this. We opened up the first taps, and literally about 8 months after being open, we took the space next to us and we opened up Raw Bar, which was a high-end sushi concept.
Okay, go ahead.
So that I took a chef out of Nobu and brought him to Tampa, and we opened up. We had a very difficult time keeping a kitchen there. The level of food was difficult to continue. So we had tons of problems with tenants above. That acclimation of people who come from residential areas now living in a building really had a hard time understanding what it was to live in a building, to live in a city. Yeah. So there was that transition period. But either way, that impacted the store. So we decided to sell it and just open up more taps. So from there, I opened up. So once that was open, we sold it, and then we opened up in Winter Park. And then every year since then, we've opened up another one. So I've opened up 6 restaurants in the last 7.5 years.
Are you planning to turn this into a franchise where other people can use the brand, or what's your long-term outlook with this?
Initially, I had no interest in that at all. I wanted to get to 10 or 20 by myself, and then maybe look at that. At that point, I felt maybe there was other people who would be better at it than me. And the reason I say that is because it's a whole nother animal when you're a franchise. And I wasn't really interested in even looking at it. And but I will say, after the years have gone by, and we've got some distance between the stores, so they're actually not all in Tampa. So we're in Tampa, we're in Winter Park, we're in Naples. We did one in Fort Lauderdale, but then we sold that off as well because it was just too hard to maintain. And now we're opening again here in International Mall, which we just opened last week. And so we're really excited about that location. And for those of you who go to the International Mall, we're right behind Capitol Grill, so there was always 2 little stores there that never really did much. There was at one point there was a Starbucks that moved into the mall, and then there was an olive oil store, and behind that was a little yogurt store, and now that was a macaroon store. We took both of them and the entire outdoor patio, tore it all apart, and so now we got a really nice footprint there. I mean, our outdoor seating is incredible.
So you came from New York out, here, not knowing what you were doing. So what did you pick to do? Like, what's the concept of taps?
Well, at that time, craft beer was hot and also relatively new. So we're talking almost 8 years. So 7.5 years ago when we opened. So it's 8 years ago when the concept came out. And I had stumbled into a couple places that, the craft beer movement was big, and I just felt the platform that everybody was using wasn't really the only platform that could exist. So they were all using kind of dingy bars that, was all kind of low end, and I felt like there's a lot of these bars are coming in like champagne bottles and corks, and I thought we can bring this. I'm looking at half the people in these places, and they're people in their 40s and 30s, and I think they would probably like a better place, you know. And also, when you look at wine bars had been very popular and then kind of faded off, but people still drink wine, of course. So my thought was put them side by side. And if you've ever been to the downtown location, it's literally 2 rooms.
So I didn't realize what I have, and you're right. Like I've been there a good number of times, and yeah.
Yeah, and the goal was, I'm like, well, you walk into a beer bar, it's all guys, and you walk into a wine bar, you have a mix, but there's a lot of women. So if we put them in the same room, hopefully they could feed off each other. You know, the one thing that, you know, I got to figure out a way to market this. We have had in our downtown location at least 15 people that I'm aware of that have met and gotten married at Taps.
Oh, wow.
I can see that.
Hey, you got a video production guy in studio with us today, and we weren't talking really about his business, but Glenn are there to market businesses to the power of story. There you go. You got a connection right there for that. So, but that's a great way to build the brand.
Call me
right
up anytime.
Glenn right there.
I'll help you out, sir.
Well, you know, some people are like, well, tell me what it's like. Is it a place where you meet a lot of hot girls and all that stuff? You know, guys are always kind of going that direction. I said, well, you know what? This is how I look at it, and it became a reality. I go, this is not the type of place you're going to meet your next girlfriend, but you'll probably meet your wife.
That's great. I mean, that's
a good story.
That's a great selling point right there, and something you can build a brand and a story around.
We get professionals. We get people who are established in life, who just want to be able to go out, have a great environment, enjoy a great meal, and meet nice people. And that's kind of, that's our target audience.
Yeah. Got to take a quick break, but coming back from the break, we'll talk a little bit more with James DeVito. He is the owner of Restaurant Taps Bar and Lounge, and learn more about the restaurant over the website tapsrestaurantbarandlounge.com. You're currently listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage want you to experience the thrill of one-day underwriting and the comfort in knowing your loans will be clear to close in record time. While the competition looks to a lost closing date, Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage focus on their 12-day clear to close. They do this by utilizing their world-class operations staff to underwrite your loan within 6 hours, process your loan in 12 days, and have your loan closed in time. Underwritten in 6 hours, cleared to close in 12 days. Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage.
Tampa Bay weather is a roof killer. That's why when getting your roof done, you want it done right. Hi, I'm Jamie Maloney of That Business Show. When considering a new roof or repair, talk to Westfall Roofing. They've been installing high-quality roofs in Tampa Bay for over 25 years. Get a free, no-obligation estimate by calling 855-99-ROOFING. That's 855-99-ROOFING. Find out what already 15,000 satisfied customers already know. Call now, 855-99-ROOFING.
Are you looking for a local real estate firm that knows the market and has your interests in mind? Then contact Jim McPeak at McPeak Real Estate Firm, a family-owned business whose agents have over 60-plus years of experience in the Tampa Bay market. Many of the agents are military veterans that know the VA process for buying a home and are proud to help our military members in any way they can. From residential to commercial real estate, McPeak Real Estate Firm is here to help. Contact Jim at 813-495-3875 and learn more at McPeakTeam.com.
Have you considered a reverse mortgage as part of your retirement financial plan? For homeowners age 62 or older, a reverse mortgage from Access Reverse Mortgage is a safe, economical way to turn your home's equity into cash or monthly income. Access Reverse Mortgage is a family-owned company based right here in the Tampa Bay area for the past 10 years. They are A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau and Florida's leading reverse mortgage provider. Call 727-347-0305 or go to accessreverse.com to start your research today. NMLS number 4566. That's 727-347-0305.
Are you in need of new flooring or ready to tackle that home remodeling project? Then contact Yeager & Company Incorporated, a family-owned, state-certified general contracting business with over 70 years of experience and the recipient of the Angie's List Super Service Award for the last 8 years in multiple categories. Yeager & Company comes to you with their shop-at-home flooring sales service, and their hardwood flooring refinishing is the very best in the Bay. Kitchen and bath design featuring American-made, well-born cabinets, and all work is done by employees, not subcontractors. Learn more at YeagerFlooring.com.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Earlier crash on northbound 275 near Dale Mabry. Now all clear. All lanes should be open and getting back to normal through that area, but you're seeing very slow traffic from the Howard Franklin Bridge through West Shore. Southbound Memorial Highway, State Road 60 area also very slow. Eastbound Courtney Campbell Causeway, left lane still blocked before the big bridge, and that has things stacked up back to McMullen Booth. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Utica Hillsborough Traffic. Tip line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by the American Association for Cancer Research. The American Association for Cancer Research is the world's first and largest organization dedicated to finding cures through research. Please support cancer research by donating today at www.aacrfoundation.org.
Today, a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms, high 89. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 79. Tomorrow, a 50-50 rain chance, high 88.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Weekday mornings, 8 a.m. here on 1250 WHNZ. Learn more about the show at TampaBayRadio.com. Currently talking with James DeVito with Taps Restaurant Bar and Lounge. And you were talking briefly in that last segment, but you mentioned you just opened a location in the International Plaza. You got a different spin on this, though, versus the other restaurants. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, couple years into making, the craft beer movement is as well. We all know it's there and it's everywhere, but it's not as unique as it used to be. And, we kind of knew that from the get-go, which is why we wanted wine and we did liquor and we have great food. So we wanted to be multifaceted from the get-go. I wanted to make sure we're going to have legs. We're going to be around in a few years when everybody has craft beer. But opening the second location in the same city, we wanted to be able to offer something different. And knowing Tampa today, even though one's downtown, the other one's in the International Mall, we're practically in different cities. If you're a Tampa person, you get it. You don't go downtown very often.
Yeah.
But we did want to bring something new to the area. And actually, Stella, you're from Europe, so you probably appreciate this. America doesn't really have a brasserie. And, a French brasserie, they do well only in the big cities in America, and that's probably because of the foreign influence. So looking at the broad selection of beer and wines and the great cocktails that we have, what complements that is food. But these beers are from all over the world. These wines are from all over the world. So our dishes can be from all over the world if we want to do that. I'm not really looking to reinvent the wheel when it comes to food. I just like good food, quality food. The reason the Brasseria does so well throughout all of Europe, it's for a lack of a better description, but I think Americans will get this. It's a fancy diner. You can go there for breakfast, lunch, or dinner any hour of the day, and you're going to get a great meal, and you're going to get dishes you understand and expect, and it's going to be done with style. It's going to be done with taste. And that's the difference. So when we were rolling out this new store in the mall, I kind of wanted to bring that to it. So it's an American brasseria. So there's no French food on the menu. That's not the, it's food Americans get. We have our meatballs, which we've always done really well with downtown. Our tuna crudo, which is another staple for the downtown location. We kept those dishes. But then we launched, finally, we have a full kitchen, because anybody's been in my downtown has peeked through the window. The kitchen's 10 by 13, and that includes dish. So there's no room. And so we finally have a full kitchen, and I get to play now. So it's really fun.
What's your favorite meal to make, or what are you known for? Are there any dishes over there that?
Well, the meatballs are, I'm Italian. So my food, when I cook, it's Italian.
Okay.
So, it doesn't surprise me that's one of our.
So if we go there, we got to ask for the meatballs then, right? So,
yeah.
Okay. What else?
Ask for the meatballs. But I love, we just rolled out all new entrees, which we've never had. So we have a short rib ragu. This is something that takes us 5 to 6 hours to make. We have a pomegranate salmon on the menu with quinoa. So that's something that I think the girls would appreciate, and anybody who's being a little more health conscious, obviously. There's a great burger. We did a Wagyu grass-fed beef burger, so, half-pound burger. It's delicious. We also did a chicken burger, which isn't as common. And, throughout all of my recipes, there's one common denominator. I take a European approach to cooking. And I call it smart cooking. It's not diet food by any means. But I don't put a stick of butter. Traditional, if you go to culinary school, they always start with like a French style of cooking. And I love France, and I don't know how they get away with it, but we don't get away with it in America. You can't put a stick of butter in everything and walk away.
It's different genes over there.
It just doesn't work.
It's just different genes.
So I go more of the the Greek and Italian, where we use olive oil for everything. So we don't fry. Our downtown location didn't even have a fryer. We bake everything. I think a lot of people come in and out of our store and don't realize that nothing has been fried. We don't even have a stove in the downtown location. So everything is baked, which does give it a slightly healthier approach. Again, not diet food. We're eating meatballs and burgers and whatever, but it's just a little bit.
And the
smarter.
restaurant that's in downtown Tampa, downtown Tampa, South Tampa, very health conscious community. So I imagine I'm guessing that the menu is a little bit different in that location versus the others, or am I wrong?
The the downtown location is, again, it's smaller foods. Well, again, it's American tapas, so there's nothing small. It's big.
Right.
We're American, so but it's sandwiches and salads and great appetizers. That's what we have there. But when you get to the International Mall, it's it's not. It's full entrees. We have a New York strip on the menu. Where you can get. That's $29. You get a New York strip. You get Brussels sprouts. You're getting tomato confit with that and French fries. Dollar for dollar, there's nowhere you're going to get a better value for that steak. That's the same steak you're going to get right next to me in the mall, and it's less than half the price. And we, I put that on that menu because my whole goal, I'm 45 now. When I got into this business, I was 37, whatever. And coming from New York, I go out every day of the week. We don't sit inside. We just don't do that. Married, not married, it doesn't matter. You just don't stay home and sit on the couch and watch TV every day. And I personally cannot do it. So, and I think the whole world's kind of coming around this direction. They want to do stuff. They want to get out of their house. And dinner is the thing that most people use as that entertainment. But you can't go to a steakhouse every night of the week. Some people don't want to and others can't afford to. And, we kind of fit in between. If you look around, people go, what's your competition? I'm like, well, anybody who serves food is my competition. However, I don't have a direct competitor if I can get my message out there, because what I'm trying to be is that middle point. If you look at the International Mall, we have Capitol Grill, we have Cheesecake Factory, there's a Bar Louie, there's a pub, we have a new place opening soon, and a couple new places actually opening soon in the mall. But Cheesecake Factory, huge success. Been there once. It's just not for me. That's not my target audience.
Right.
Capitol Grill, I love Capitol Grill, but how many days a week you can go to the same restaurant?
Yeah.
And again, big bill. Whereas our place, you're going to go in, it's going to be less than half the price, and the quality's, well, in my opinion, better, actually.
Yeah.
And a different atmosphere. It's bright, it's airy. We have, the whole corner. So we have an enormous outdoor patio that's completely undercover. So even this week, we just opened this week, and it was pouring, right? The worst weather.
Right.
My luck. But we opened up, and it's pouring, but we had people sitting outside during that entire rainstorm, enjoying rosé and, having the octopus and whatever, and, just enjoying the burgers, and it's been great. So we have a great atmosphere. The whole front of the store, we install these glass garage doors that go completely up. So on a beautiful day, there's going to be no better place than sit.
Very cool. Well, we got about a minute left. The restaurant open for private parties and events too. Go and put a plug in for that.
We can, yeah. Our downtown location does tons of that.
Okay.
But of course, yeah. And they can go to Taps, our website.
Yeah, Taps Restaurant.
Tampa
Taps
is the
Tampa.
easier one to go. We have a bunch of them. So tapstampa.com will direct you right to our website, and you can either put an inquiry there, and then we'll get back to you.
And most of our listeners in this area are in the Tampa region. Where's the location again? In the downtown Tampa location? Where's that at?
777 North Ashley Drive. That's right across the street from the museums and the park, diagonal to the Performing Arts Center. So if you're going to a show, there's great. Just get
great
there early.
Location right there. I've been there myself. Great little location. But
I'll apologize in advance. You get there early, otherwise you're gonna have a hard time getting out on.
And ask for the meatballs, right?
Meatballs.
James DeVito, owner of the restaurant Taps Bar and Lounge. Thank you very much for being in studio today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And again, learn more about him at tapsrestaurantbarandlounge.com. Also, thank you to Stella Giudicelli for being in studio today. Stella.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And also thanks to Glenn Zimmerman, owner and president of Mad Bear Productions, who was on the first part of the show. Learn more about him and his company over at madbearproductions.com. Well, this wraps up week 27 of That Business Show. And remember, you can catch the show on here weekday mornings at 8 a.m. here on 1250 WHZ. I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'll see you back in here Monday morning at 8 a.m. And you've been listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.